Hey everyone, welcome to Prophecy Roundtable. I'm your host, Dr. Douglas Hamp. I am delighted to be with you again. Hey, if it looks like I got some sun, that's because I went to Vail today. Wow, Vail is just like nothing on earth. It really is pretty crazy. That's where I got to spend today. Haven't gone skiing very much this year. I don't know what's wrong with me. But we're going to be talking about the Copper Scroll and Qumran News. We've got a special guest to talk about that. Joel is going to tell us all about it. I'm really excited about that. Hey, if you guys want to be a producer for this show, go to patreon.com/Doug Hamp and you can give as little or as much as you want. Thank you guys. And I've been asking you to pray about the Read Genesis Code project. Okay, guys, I'm working on this. I swear I'm working on it. Okay. And my co author is also working on it. We're going to have some stuff really soon. We're going to have a crowdfunding page. We're going to have a rip reel, which is basically the short that we want to produce, but we're taking other people's content to show you what we're trying to create. All right. So there's like all these steps so that we can actually give you something that you're like, oh, that's what you're trying to do. Okay. So sorry about that. So that's what we're trying to do. So that's kind of where we are. So your prayer is needed. If you want to give, certainly start thinking about that. Share with others. If you know some big fat, doesn't be fat, but some big producer in Hollywood, cool. Hook them up with us, right? This is what we need to do. So that'd be fantastic. All right. Well, without further ado, I am delighted to introduce Jim Barfield and, of course, my co-host Joel Blackford. Excuse me. Joel, why don't you give us the spiel here about what we're doing, and I'm looking forward to this show.
So I'm excited because Jim Barfield is wonderful. He's on the inside of what's going on over in Israel. He's an investigator. So you might think he has this great background where he knows everything about the Hebrew language. No, he knows about as much as we know, although Doug's the expert. He taught on it. But the main thing is Jim is an investigator. He was a fire investigator for many years in Oklahoma. And after he retired, he just thought that he had an idea about the copper scroll, that he could figure out what it meant. And now keep in mind, when I talk to the rabbis, I'm the novice. And even though I might have a really cool speculation, they look at me like I'm from another planet. And they looked at Jim like that. But then he kind of battled back and won them over. And now he's a respected person within their group. And so he's been over in Israel recently. He's going to come back and tell us a little bit about the Copper Scroll, a little bit about Qumran, and then we will talk about the red heifer, which has been very interesting lately. A lot of news on that. So, Jim, thank you very much for joining us. Would you like to talk to us about the Copper Scroll Project?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's my favorite subject. I bet you guessed that.
Yes.
It's the Copper Scroll. Let me just tell you what it is. First of all, it was found in 1952. It is literally a copper scroll about 7 feet long, a little longer than 7 feet, and about a foot wide. And it's got 12 columns of ancient Hebrew text on it. And each column has a number of different locations of temple treasures from the time frame of Solomon's temple treasures. It sounds wild, it sounds insane, and believe me, I've dealt with this for 17 years now. I've gone to Israel many times, and I've talked to many rabbis, many guys with PhDs that are in charge of certain areas of Israel. And guys, I tell you, let me tell you one quick story. I was teaching investigative report writing at Comanche Nation College in Lawton, Oklahoma. The director, excuse me, assistant director, her name was Juanita Pantaponi. Juanita was she called me in after she heard a presentation that I gave to the entire staff. She said, "I think I can help you with your Copper Scroll project." And I'm thinking, how is a little Comanche lady from Lawton, Oklahoma going to help me? She helped me big. She knew the antiquities director of Israel and knew him very well. His wife and her were very good friends. And she set up a meeting between me and Shuka Dorfman, the head of the Antiquities Authority. uh, when he saw me, he was very kind. He actually picked me up at my hotel and took me to the across from he took me to the Citadel Hotel in Jerusalem, right across from the old city. We sat down and we talked. I flew helicopters for the 6th Cav Brigade Army, and he was a pilot. He was in the artillery. That's how his Juanita Patapon, he met him. Well, we have the Capital Air Force or artillery base right here near my home. And that's how they got to be good friends. Anyway, we had a nice chat. Then he said to me, Mr. Barfield, how can I help you? I said, well, Mr. Dorfman, it's not that you can help me so much. I'm going to try to help you. He said, how's that? I said, have you ever heard of the Copper Scroll? He laughed. He said, of course I have. I said, well, I think I know how to understand it. That's when he started curling up in his chair and going, oh my gosh. Within, he pulled my research over in front of him, and we started. Listen, within 5 minutes, he was ecstatic. He said, Mr. Barfield, hold on just a minute. And he reached in his leather briefcase, pulled out a phone. He called his secretary. She set up a meeting between me, Yitzhak Magen, Yuval Peleg, and we all three met at the Rockefeller Museum in downtown Jerusalem. When we did that, they all saw my research. The lead archaeologist for Qumran, he was excited. In Hebrew, he told Shuka Dorfman, he said, I think this guy's done it. Now, how do I know that? It's because I'm an investigator. I had, excuse my cough, everybody, I'm very sorry. I had my my recorder going. I had a digital recorder. And with that recorder, I was able to get every word that they talked about. And I had a very high rabbi in Israel standing by to listen to the Hebrew. And whenever I took it to his office, he said, Mr. Barfield, these guys believe that you've done it. In other words, I figured out the locations of the Copper Scroll. And that Copper Scroll, again, has 57 locations of temple treasures. And I found all but one. Now, I may be missing one or two more, but one's the only one I couldn't figure out. So that's what this thing is. That's what my purpose is, going to Israel all the time, is I'm trying to get permission to do excavations in Israel to recover these items.
So one interesting thing is that you started marching off the paces, the cubits, we'll call them. So a cubit, there are royal cubits, there are different cubits. You discerned that the cubit that they were using was 19.25 inches. Is that the case?
Yes, exactly. I got that measurement from Joseph Good. A lot of your audience probably know who he is.
Yes, I know Joe.
Yeah, Joe Good is a wonderful man. And he told me, he said, Jim, do your measurements with 19.25. And I did. The first one starts off like that. Let me tell you what it says initially. It says, under the ruins in the Valley of Akor. Now, that's the first line of the Copper Scroll. And after that, it begins to read, at the ruins or at the steps heading east, 40 cubits long, are 17 talents of silver service vessels. The only silver service vessels or temple service vessels were ones from King Solomon at that time. 17 talents. And does any in the group know how much a talent weighs?
I don't know. Sorry.
75 pounds.
Okay.
So that's right at, let me see if I remember correctly, it's right at 3,000 pounds worth of silver. Now you got to understand, if you got a 10-ounce bar, I've got several, and they're not really very big. They're about 2.5 by 4 inches by 3/8 of an inch. But if you hammered the thing out and turned it into a bowl, it's going to be considerably bigger. So 17 talents, so 17 times 75 pounds, that is a lot of silver, especially whenever you've expanded into vessels and that sort of thing, temple vessels.
Wow. Yeah.
So, Jim, the other thing is where it's located is technically in the Jordan Valley. It's contested land. And so what's it like for you and the rabbis to try to investigate what you want to do Well, knowing that there's an international crisis brewing every time you take a step.
Well, the area where we're at, there's three zones in the West Bank, and that's where all this is at.
Right.
I call it Judea Samaria, and that's a proper term for it.
Judea.
Mm-hmm. Well, area A, you don't want to go to. You want to stay out of that area because your life's in danger there. And there's big signs whenever you get ready to go in. They tell you, we can't help you. You go in here, you're on your own. Anyway, now I'm paraphrasing. Area B, it's about a 50-50 mix of Israeli Authority, Palestinian Authority. But the Area C is entirely Israeli Authority. Qumran is in Area C. That's a blessing.
Good.
And for those of you who kept up with the Abrahamic Accords, the Qumran is actually located in the area that the Israelis are supposed to dominate if that ever comes to fruition.
Interesting. So you've paced it all out. You figured things out. The rabbis seem to love you now and respect you, right?
Yeah, they do. Let me, real quick story. I went to Israel to talk to a very high rabbi, and I can't say his name, and I apologize. Okay. I'll do it. I would tell you off screen, but he did not want to talk to me. Me and my buddy Chris went there. I had my research with me. I went to his office. Didn't want to talk to me, so it took me about an hour to get in. When I finally got in, I set my research on a little small table in amongst the three of us. The rabbi is sitting to my left. My buddy Chris was right in front of me across from the table. And I told the rabbi what we were doing, and he looked at me like, oh, my gosh, I got a couple of nuts in my office. And I understand that. I do understand it. Well, he got up after I said that, he got up and he pulled his jacket, his black jacket. You know how the Orthodox dress. He pulled it back, and he had a 45 Smith & Wesson on his hip. In other words, he was saying to us, gentlemen, I will defend myself if necessary, because there's no reason for him to have done that other than he was concerned, and he should be. And because of his position, he always carried a pistol. And I totally agree with that. So my point is, he came back and sat down. And as he sat there, I showed him location 1, location 2, location 3. And each time he was getting closer, pulling my research closer to him. But when I showed him location number 4, he got up out of his chair. He came over to me, put his hands on my shoulder, and he lifted me. He's not a tall guy. He's about 5'6". He picked me up and he kissed me on both cheeks. He said, Mr. Barfield, do you know what this means to my people? I said, yeah. I said, it means the same thing to my people. And he said, this is incredible to us. Well, when he said that, he also said, do you know what this is? These treasures you got? And I said, yeah, they're Solomon Temple treasures. He said, no. He said, much more than that. He said, this is the dowry for the coming bride. And the lights went on. I had never thought of that. Anyway, we had a wonderful talk. And he was very supportive, and he still is supportive. He's got to be very cautious because of his position. And even like they are right now with the red heifers, they're being
when he said the coming bride, he's referring to the Messianic bride. Is that what he's referring to, or what did he
He's right, the bride of Messiah. Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what he's referring to.
Okay. But that was an interesting statement, because he's not Messianic Christian. He's Jewish, Orthodox, whatever. How would
he's Jewish, Orthodox, Messianic, meaning they believe in the Messiah.
They're more Messianic than we are.
Well, I mean, but he doesn't believe in Jesus. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, he doesn't believe in Jesus.
Trying to be nice about it. But yeah, so
but basically, he doesn't believe that Yeshua was and is the Messiah, promised to come.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
fine.
Yeah,
that makes you Orthodox. I mean,
exactly. So, I mean, if we're using labels, I mean that's what that one means. But anyway, well, this is really interesting. Well, so where's the treasure, Jim? I want to go find it.
And can you even talk about it, Jim? You know,
real quick, Jim. And I talked to a mutual friend and I won't even say his name right now, like you did earlier. That he had talked to you a couple of, I guess this is back in February before you left out. Did y'all find anything, or can you report it? Can you talk about it, about your recent trip? I'll just point to the ask.
Listen, we can't dig. We can't do anything until everything comes to fruition. There's got to be we've got to have a team. We've got the team. I was a month or two ago. I was in Tennessee with 40 members of my team, and we were practicing. We were using a metal detector. We were doing everything that we needed to do to get ready for the next trip to Israel. And we were getting ready to learning. They were learning how to do an excavation. But I can't do anything without an authorized archaeologist, a university to back us, and we've got considerable amount of funding, but I have to meet all the requirements to do excavation, and it has to be done by an archaeologist.
So this most recent trip, then there was no dig that y'all went over there on?
No, there's only been one dig out of many trips that I've been to Qumran. One dig where we actually did an excavation, or a trip that we did an excavation.
And I could talk to you off site. You would know the gentleman I'm talking about. I've had him on my show before. He's been on our little Prophecy Roundtable show before. So I'm narrowing down the field here, but he was really excited about when he learned that you guys were going over there in February and March about what the possibilities might be.
Yeah, there's always a possibility. And gentlemen, let me tell you this, even if I had a trip and everything in place, I would not tell you, because when the day comes, we're not going to say a word. We're just going, and if you'll notice on my website, I don't post updates and that sort of thing. It's not like I'm, from First Baptist downtown where they keep theirs updated. I can't do that, because what I'm dealing with is incredibly, oh gosh, I don't know, explosive. Let me just say that.
It's very sensitive. We were joking. We wouldn't want you to tell us, but
no, we don't want.
And from
part of me wants to know where the treasure is, So
no. Wait. I am going to show you where the treasure is if you want to see it.
Yeah,
I would love to.
From listening to your accent, you appear to be from God's country.
Oklahoma.
Well, that's sort of south. So
we
Doug's up there with
all Colorado's kind of south too.
I have snow all around my place. So
yeah. Joel's in Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota, yeah, sure, you betcha.
Yeah, you guys are just jealous you can't make it up to the high world.
I was a little bitter today when Jim, you told me that you were at Vail. I will admit that.
Jim, there's some silver and gold, but there's also possibly a tabernacle. Is there any chance that there might be a tabernacle buried down there in Qumran?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you gentlemen, any of you are familiar with the Second Maccabees, second chapter?
Yes.
Vaguely.
Okay. Really important stuff. Guys, don't discount those. They're not what I would consider scripture, but they are certainly good history.
Historical.
Yes. There is in second chapter, what it says is this, Second Maccabees. It says Jeremiah, I'm going to paraphrase. Jeremiah was telling all the people that were going into Babylon, see you later. I told you, I warned you, pack your bags. You didn't listen to me. Now they're going into Babylon. He also tells them, do not get attached to their gods, to their images, their idols. He said, keep reading Torah. And on that trip, he took, according to Second Maccabees, he took the altar of incense, table of showbread, Ark of the Covenant, and all the implements, except for the menorah, and put them all. Well, he had the menorah too, I believe, as well. He put all of that inside of a cave, and he sealed the entrance. Well, there's another document written in the 1600s, 1640s sometime, and it says that Jeremiah took all the implements of the tabernacle and the tabernacle, put them in a cave, and sealed the entrance. Copper scroll says that it doesn't say Jeremiah, doesn't say who did it. It says that all the treasures of the house. Well, the gold and silver is not the treasures of the house, gentlemen. What's the treasures of the house are all the implements and the tabernacle that they kept in the temple during that time frame. And they put all this inside of a cave, and Jeremiah was involved in it. And again, this was in Emek HaMelech. Did I tell you that? I may not have. It's called Emek.
Yeah,
it means
the Valley of the
King. Valley of the Kings, or Valley of the King. They put all that stuff in there and they sealed the entrance shut. I did an excavation. Well, it wasn't under my authority. I had the archaeologist which was one of the guys that was sitting there at the meeting with me. It's Shuka Dorfman. It was Yuval Peleg. He fell in love with my research, and he realized that I'd figured out how to understand it. Well, he's provided all the equipment, all the diggers, everything, and we started an excavation in April 2009. We got about 3 feet deep whenever we got stopped by the head of the Antiquities Authority for, it's called the ADCA, the Archaeological Department of the Civil Administration, which is the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Now, they stopped us. We didn't get to go nearly as deep as we were supposed to. And we only got to do three locations. Gentlemen, I totally apologize. Only 3 locations when we were supposed to have done 5. I understand they had political stuff coming down on them. And the reason that they were angry was these guys were guys with PhDs that were furious that they were allowing a fireman from Lawton, Oklahoma, to conduct an excavation at the most prominent site in that entire area, Qumran. It's huge. It's not huge in size, but it's huge in importance. So they were really angry. Well, you know what? They can kiss my brown bouquet, because I don't care what they like or do not like. I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this, and I truly feel that God has laid this on my heart, and that's why I'm doing it. And the other reason is I know that there's going to be a day that there's going to be another temple. They're going to need all the implements, and I want to help as much as I can, because my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and for many years after that, will be living under a righteous king. That's what I'm doing this for, gentlemen.
Amen.
It's interesting you said that about the firemen and the sort of the pushback you've gotten. When it would have been last month, actually, when the mutual friend had said you were going over there. I mentioned something to I call them my heathen college friends. Mm-hmm. And I posted something on your website, and they go, "Oh yeah, a fireman," like. now again, these are skeptics, by the way. So
I totally understand, and I don't mind that at all. The worst person. He was one of the PhD guys. He was furious. And he was writing blog after blog after blog after blog until he saw a portion of my research, and I watched for him because it was locked and you had to sign in, and there his name was, big as day, and everything, it was him. From that day to this day, he's never said another word about my research. Well, he has shut his PhD mouth, and he never said another word after that.
Those PhD people just think that they're smarter than everybody. I mean, but there's only one on this panel right now.
Let me tell you, I've had some wonderful guys. One of them was a guy named Ken Hansen from University of Central Florida, I believe. Wonderful. I've had several really kind gentlemen that were gentlemen. But this guy is like a child from the 7th grade, picking on his buddies at school just to get attention. Well, bless his heart. That's what we say in Oklahoma. And I can figure out what that means.
That's an insult.
Well, no, wait. Bless his heart. You know what? If he would be man enough to sit down with me and apologize, and publicly apologize after he hammered me so many years, I'll sit and have a beer with him. How about that? But I
didn't bring that up, Jim, to disparage you. Just that you mentioned about the fact that you're a fireman. This is sort of like a mission from God that you feel called to do.
Oh, I do.
And God can use a fisherman if he wants to, and he did. and he can use a fireman, he can use a lawyer, he can even use PhDs occasionally.
Yeah, he can use donkeys too.
Exactly. Like Joel, look at Joel.
Yeah, there you go. Ray. So what else is happening then? So let's talk about Qumran in general. Are there any other excavations going on, just for scrolls or anything like that?
The last time there was an excavation going on, I went to there's a new guy running the ADCA. He had replaced Yitzhak Magen. His name is Hananya Hizmi. Hananya sat down with me for about 45 minutes, and I did a disclosure with him, showed him some of my research. And you should have seen him, guys. Don't ever take him with you to Las Vegas. His poker face is bad because he would look at my research, and he just over and over and over again. Then when we got done, we went to his office. We sat down in his office, just me and him. He said, Mr. Barfield, sometimes you just have to leave things alone. I said, what are you saying? He said, well, I'll tell you this. I'm closing down Qumran to any ground excavations within the ruins. And they did. And I don't know that they've opened it up yet. And I was there probably 5 years after that, and it was still closed. They were outside now, outside of the ruins. They were doing some stuff in the graveyard, but I've never seen anything going on within the ruins. And it's possible, but because of what I showed him, and gentlemen, all of this stuff, except for 2 locations, is within the ruins of Qumran.
Wow.
And I don't want to go down this road too much, but there is the connection with Qumran and the calendar. So there's the calendar that just started up after the vernal equinox here, and it could take us an hour or two to discuss that. But do you have any comments on that might take a couple of minutes?
I am a chronology nut.
Oh, okay.
I love. I've got a timeline that goes from Adam all the way to the year 2040, okay. Our time. Well, there's two calendars in the Qumran calendar scrolls. One of them is a civil calendar. One of them is a religious calendar. Civil calendar starts at the autumnal equinox. The religious calendar starts at this religious equinox. So, guys, that Qumran calendar is incredibly consistent, accurate, and I'm not promoting any more calendars. Matter of fact, I'm going to wait from the side to say, guys, Qumran, that's the one you use. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait for him to do that. But yes, the calendars at Qumran are amazing, and if you trust, this is very important. If you ever want to build a timeline, and I have, use Microsoft Excel document, because you can't cheat with that, and put all the timing on there. And I've got it pulled up here, but I don't know if I can show you guys. I don't know if we're set to be able to do that. But what I did is I used biblical dating, like from Adam to Seth, Seth to Enos, Enos to, and on down the line, and that you can reach literally with scripture and prophecy. You can reach all the way to the year 1948.
Curious, what year on your chronology or your calendar do you have Yeshua's death in?
Let me pull it up here so I can look at it. It was in 30 AD.
30.
But from Adam, like I forget the.
Yeah, I can tell you that off the top of my head. It's 4019.
It's on
okay, and I would like very much not strenuously quibble with you, because I gave up about 20 years ago with the chronology. It was one of my things. Mm-hmm. And after I studied it and I saw that 20 different experts had 20 different chronologies, I gave up kind of trying to prove.
Here's how you do that.
Because it was all over the board.
Use scripture only.
I did it. And like Ken Johnson has a calendar. He believes that Yeshua probably was crucified around 3960. He has Yeshua returned in
Okay.
2070 AD. That would be his 6,000 year mark.
Let me stop you there.
I'm
Is
using
he
like from Adam.
using? Okay, are you using the current Jewish dating, or are you using biblical dating from Adam
Well,
to
Ken is using biblical dating, and again, back when
We lost Scott.
no, I mean what I'm getting at
there
is
you
you
are.
have
Okay.
20 different scholars that come up with 20 different. I'm not saying Jim's calendar is not 100% balls on dead accurate. Okay, what I'm getting at, I got frustrated comparing and contrasting and going, well, this guy makes a good argument, and this passage says this, and this is a little ambiguous. I mean, again, I got frustrated as a lawyer trying to prove something, and I just said it was around the 4,000 year mark. When I say 4,000 from Adam, that Yeshua, and that's why I asked you that question. You were at 4,019, so we're in the wiggle room.
Yeah, and the thing about it for me, this document, I made it for me. I didn't make it to show anybody. I made it so I could figure out. I figured out what time, when which king was with which prophet, and so on and so on. Which king during the separation of Judah and Israel, which kings were working at the same time, that sort of thing.
Yep.
It is incredible, and I'm not saying what I did was incredible, but once you use only scripture, I'm telling you guys, you can see incredible things with it. And yeah, sometime I'd be happy to sit down with you and show you the research, and I think you'd be interested.
My dad, I'd love to see your work. Yeah, my dad did the same research, and again, I ended up quibbling with him by a few years here or there, and just based on some kings, like you were talking about, some co-ruling, some co-regency. It's enough wiggly that I got frustrated and said, "There's no way I could go in and prove this because you got 20 different like you."
One last thing on that is my son-in-law, wonderful young man. He does accounting work, and I told him what to do. I told him how to do it. He was off by 1 year for what I came up with.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
And again, we're using a Microsoft Excel document, which is designed for accounting or sensitive in inventories, that sort of thing. So it has to be accurate. So the difference between what I've done, and again, I'm not selling this or trying to beat anybody up, is I put it on, I accounted for every single year using only Bible and information from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And that's how I built this thing. I didn't use Babylon. I've got Babylonian dating on there. I've got Greek and Roman dating on there, but I only use it for confirmation purposes. The main, what I call the baselines or the benchmarks, I've got 50 of them, and they are all connected. Every one of them are connected with positive locations where you can look at it on the scripture and see what I'm talking about.
Like even you and Bishop Usher, I mean, he had Messiah's birth at 4004 BC. So you guys you're in the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in other words, you're within that 10, 20. I mean, like even Ken Johnson, and I like a lot of Ken's work. All three of us differ with his interpretation. He's pre-trib rapture. He thinks we're getting raptured. Any day now. Okay. Well, I like Ken. He is a scholar, and he does, and he spends a lot of time researching Dead Sea Scrolls and the calendar. And that, when you brought up the calendar, that's what that triggered my brain. And when you said that about your chronology, and I'll just be honest, I gave up. I got frustrated. I'm like, I couldn't prove it to myself beyond, to where I could go, this is it. And I came up with a wiggle room of 20, 30-ish years.
Okay.
And you're in that ballpark. So
yeah, pretty close. Looks like it.
Yep.
Yeah. So go ahead, Joel, please.
Okay. So I think we'll work on the calendar another time because that could be an hour show on its own.
Oh, 4 hours.
4 hours. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was just curious where you were on that. And since you are a calendar geek, we'll want to have you back on for that. So the next thing is the Red Heifers. Shiloh is an important town. Have you been up there at all, Jim? Shiloh?
Yes, I have. I wasn't there very long. We were having trouble with our bus. And it was an older bus with the bulletproof glass on it, and it was overheating. But we didn't stay very long. Uh, what I'll tell you about the red heifers, I'll start with the guy's name is Byron Stinson. There was a radio talk show host out of California, San Francisco, that he wanted to get me and Byron Stinson together. You know who Byron Stinson is?
No.
Byron Stinson is the guy that got the red heifers rounded up in Texas.
Oh, he's a Texan. Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
I went to his house. Yep. I was invited to go to his house. I spent a weekend with him. I think I spent a couple of weekends with him now. He was going over his research for the red heifers, and I was going over my research for the copper scroll and other things. And we had a great time. He's a really good guy, really good fellow, believes in the Father. And he was telling me about it, and I'd already been aware of it. But I just got word from Israel today that there are 2 red heifers that are definitely left. One of them is a little more golden in color, so he's still qualified from what I understand, but the other 2 are red, and there's 3 of them, but only 2 that they're counting on to be actual red heifers. And gentlemen, the age of these things they're there. They have to be in the 3rd year. And it's and this is where your chronology stuff comes in. In the 3rd year means if he's 2 years and 1 day, he's in the 3rd year. But they're wanting to make sure that these heifers are ready, and if they have one of them left to be able to do the sacrifice, that's going to be incredible. And another thing where what connects me and Byron, he doesn't quite believe it, and that's okay, is this. He thinks that they don't need the halal, which is the container that holds the ashes of the red heifer from all the way from Moses to this day. There were 9 of them, 9 red heifers that had been utilized, and by the time that everything got shut down, whatever ashes that they had left, they left them in the halal. And I will bet you $100 bill that those ashes are with the if I'm correct, inside of this cave that I've identified, or location that I've identified, they will be in there. If they've got the Ark of the Covenant, table showbread, all this stuff, all the treasures of the house, and the tabernacle, gentlemen, they will have those ashes of the red heifer in there. And what they do is they take the new ashes and mix them with the old. Now you're talking all the way back to the time of Moses. That's incredible. And they're all mixed in there. So whenever they do the cleansing, and that's what the ashes are for, is to cleanse, they're going to need it for that tabernacle. They're going to need it for all the implements they're going to be cleaning. It's a lot of stuff. And there's hundreds of thousands of bowls, cups, platters, and that sort of stuff that were stored away, and I believe in the cave at Qumran. It's going to be incredible. Location number 2 on the copper scroll has 900 talents of gold, and it's right out in the open. Guess how much that's worth? Almost $2 billion.
Oh my.
If they're 75 pounds, let's say that they're 35 pounds, 35.25 pounds, they're going to be worth $1 billion. That location is worth $1 billion. And that's just one location. And there's 57 locations. So anyway, go ahead.
In the copper scroll, was anything mentioned about the ashes of the red heifer? Was it literally listed in the shopping list, we'll call it?
No, there's nothing about the halal in there. I've heard people say that there were. I never saw it.
Okay. And then when you're working with the Orthodox rabbis, when I talk to Orthodox rabbis, they think the Messiah is going to sacrifice the red heifer, the Parah Adamah, and they think that the Messiah will bring down that third temple. So they're not so keen on all of this. So have you noticed the disharmony between the rabbis on what you're working on and whether
No,
or not that's the Messiah's job or our job?
no, what I'm working on doesn't even fit in those categories.
Okay.
Reason being, whether they, the Messiah brings the tabernacle down or brings the temple down, or whether it's built here on earth, they're still going to need those implements. They still need all the implements, all the bowls, cups, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
They will need that, and all the things that I would be providing. Not me, what the copper scroll will be providing, like if I'm right about that table of showbread, altar of incense, Ark of the Covenant, they need all that stuff. So they're not arguing with me. They're arguing with each other about, is the Messiah going to bring the temple down? Because listen, think about this. If that tabernacle, and I promise you all the parts are going to be there, if that tabernacle is in that hill, underneath that hill, they could take that thing out. The priest should clean it, get it ready, and it could be ready within, I would say, within 2 weeks, and probably less than that. And they could start the services all over again.
Now, we read Torah, all four of us, and we know in Numbers 19, in my Chumash, it states it very ambiguously. It says, someone shall sacrifice the red heifer, and someone, and so you guys can answer that question. I'll continue on with what I'm doing. So basically, we don't know who, but they have to be clean people. They have to be Tahora, we call it in Hebrew, which means that they're spiritually clean. And so do you see that as a hindrance to starting the sacrificial system, or the red heifer specifically?
Well, this rabbi that I talked to, because I asked him, I said, do you have men ready to function with the restored system? And he literally looked around the room. He said, yes. And I said, how are they practicing? And I'm sure you guys know about it. There is a tabernacle in the southern part of Israel where they could actually do practicing services for doing whatever service they might need to do. They're already trained up and ready to go, and they're practicing on a tabernacle, mishkan, which to me is very interesting because they can build a tabernacle, and they did build one. It's a simulation, of course, but if I really found the tabernacle, the services could start up within a very short time.
Well, and that's what's an interesting question I've always had is in the second temple, how did the high priest even do the Yom Kippurim ceremony? There was no ark.
Well,
it wasn't there.
What part did the ark play during the Yom Kippur service?
Well, there was sprinkling and touching of the horns of the altar. And I mean, there were certain parts that you have to have an ark to ceremonially fulfill.
Okay, now I see what you're talking about. Okay. I thought you were referring to specifically.
You have to sprinkle blood on the ark.
You have to do certain things. Yeah. And if there's no ark there, did the high priest, after Judah returned, just walk into the Holy of Holies and go, well, we're just going to skip this part because the ark's not there?
What did they do?
I don't know.
They didn't die.
But they they didn't die because there was no ark in there.
Right.
And if I'm right, when was the last time you saw any mention of the ark in the scripture? It was
Maccabees.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's actually time frame. It goes back from what I'm talking about. Maccabees.
Probably in the book of Judges, I think, isn't it?
Last place I saw it was in. It was at the time of King Josiah. Okay. That's where they were they took the Ark of the Covenant and they hid it in a place that had been prepared. Well, Qumran is a place that certainly was prepared. Gentlemen, let me tell you this. In the research that I've done, the Qumran was, and will be, to some degree, the home base for prophets of Israel. It is my firm belief that they were like the United States. We've got a 3-branch government system. We got executive, legislative, and judicial. Executive, which role do you think in ancient Israel, who played that role? The king. Who played the legislative? That was the priestly.
Sure.
Yeah, Sanhedrin, the priestly guys. But then who handled the judicial portion of that?
I say priests generally, but kings got involved too. Obviously, with Solomon.
Yeah. Well, they were the executive, because listen, who came into town with a club and pounded it on David's table? Nathan said, "Look, dude, you're messing around with this guy's wife. You've got an entire flock out there. He's got one lone sheep, and you're taking advantage of this." So it was the prophets that would come in and hammer the table and tell these guys, you got to straighten up. They were the judicial system. They were like the Supreme Court. They made the final decisions on that.
And I would say they would be like an advocate for Yah, for Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh.
Yes.
And they would be like the prosecuting attorney, obviously with Yah being the ultimate judge over them. But yeah, the way I read the Torah is it was the priests that really were in charge of actually conducting the trials. If you were going to have a trial, we don't have much information where Betty Sue stepped out on Bob.
Who were the judges in the book of Judges? Who were the judges? One of them we know for sure. Samuel. I mean, yeah, Samuel was one of them. But what about
Deborah, Samson?
Samson. What was the major role that he took upon himself as a judge? He was Nazir.
Theoretically.
Yeah, absolutely theoretically, because it said he shall drink no wine, and it goes down the list. And there's 4 people in history that were given pretty much the same things. Like, for example, John the Baptist. Was he Nazir? He took upon himself, his father, he was born of a miraculous birth. His family was given, and he was given a mission, and he was Nazir. And there's other things that fall into this. But gentlemen, I'm telling you, at Qumran is the home of the prophets. It's going to be second only to the temple whenever the time comes, if I'm correct, that all of these treasures are buried at Qumran, because it's going to have a history like you wouldn't believe.
Jim, I put a question up about, and it's sort of a hot topic right now. Ivy had asked, do you think, and I'll let you answer first, do you think the red heifer is the abomination of desolation? I've been seeing this on social media for like the past month or two.
No.
So I assumed your answer would be no.
No. What is it? What was the abomination of desolation at the time of Antiochus Epiphanes?
Well, it was a statue set up, worship this is your God. That's my thing. I will say that because I'm an attorney and I'm gonna put on my other hat right now. If I were going to argue it just says a holy topos, a holy location. And I think everybody could agree that the Mount of Olives is a holy location, but I don't see that the red heifer ritual sacrifice slaughter is going to be an abomination, because it's just a ritual purity thing for dealing with death. I mean, Yeshua's death and resurrection overcame our death sentence. Mm-hmm. So they're tied in, but this is more about for like the priestly ceremonial duties. Cleansing, which I know from reading comments, a lot of people that Yeshua was the ultimate and final sacrifice. There will be no further sacrifices. And I know from talking to Doug over the years and Joel that we believe there's going to be sacrifices after Yeshua returns as a memorial. Yep. As a do this in remembrance of me. In other words, King Yeshua is going to be on the throne. Do this Passover for what I did for you 2,000 plus years ago. Do this. Keep on celebrating first fruits. Keep on celebrating every year Sukkot, et cetera, et cetera. So I just don't see that. don't see how how individuals that believe they're from Judah, that believe they're from the priestly lineage, slaughtering a red heifer on the Mount of Olives, which is a holy location, would qualify. I don't. How about you?
Well,
you, Joel, and Doug?
Doug, do you want to go first?
No, go for it.
Okay, so basically you have time frames that take you into the Great Tribulation, and then the midpoint, and the midpoint is generally when we consider the abomination of desolation to occur. So to get into that time frame, you have to have the holy restarted. You have to have the red heifer slaughtered and the ashes mixed, and so you have to then go into the holy, and you have these sacrifices that occur morning and evening. 9 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Shacharit and Mincha twice a day, and then you cease that. So the ceasing of the holy would be the midpoint, and so the red heifer is the start of the holy.
Yeah, there you go.
Man,
I don't see anything that falls into that category with the red heifers.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen tomorrow, or I'm seeing some people saying the Sabbath. It might be the 8th. It might be the 22nd that Judah decides to do this red heifer sacrifice. But
I don't know how anybody can say
others,
that the red heifer is the abomination of desolation. I mean, 2 Thessalonians 2 clearly says that the beast will go into the temple, declare himself to be God, and show himself to be God. I mean.
yeah,
Like
and I don't see how how a cow that doesn't, it's a cow. not disparaging cows.
There's something spiritual about the sacrifice of the red heifer, guys.
I
agree with that. I agree
Even
with
rabbis sit there and debate over this. It's like, it's a red cow. Who cares? It's spiritual. There's got to be something going on that purifies people from this. And mixing of other items too. It's not just the red cow.
Isn't that the rabbinic term choke? Why do we do this? We just do it because his word says so. We don't know why.
Hook. Yeah.
I mean, no.
Yeah.
Like what part about killing a red heifer, taking it outside the camp and burning it, purifies you from death? It just does because God said so.
Yeah.
That's there doesn't have to be any logical reason.
Why do we keep Sabbath, guys? He says do it.
He
just
said
do
so.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a hook. Okay. So the red heifer, we have this get together yesterday, Jim, in Shiloh, where it was just Hebrew only. And, you now read Hebrew, but you couldn't have sat in on that meeting. But did you hear anything about it where the rabbis got together?
I did. I heard that there was going to be a gathering, but I haven't heard the results of that. No.
Are you friends with Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm very good friends with him.
Good. He'll be telling us more about it. So, that's good. So we'll just wait and see what Adam has to say, because he's a Hebrew speaker and he probably was there. At least he's saying that he was. So that'll be exciting. What was the question, Doug?
I don't know. Let's see. Where'd the question go? Hold on.
I have no idea.
We had then a question just come up. Goodness.
I put this one up, and Jim, I'm assuming you're using the Masoretic for when you did your chronology, correct?
When I did my no,
you used the Septuagint?
No, I just used very simply used the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Okay,
I got all the information from the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Okay, so not Masoretic, not Septuagint, more.
It was Dead Sea Scrolls.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're incredibly interesting and thorough. Those guys were wow. You talk about anal.
Don't they match up with the Don't the Masoretic text, meaning the oldest we have from 900 BC, 900 AD? Doesn't that match up with the Dead Sea Scrolls much better than the Septuagint? I've only done very limited research in it, but from my understanding, the Dead Sea Scrolls match the Masoretic on the dates more so than they do the Septuagint. But that's been years since I studied that out.
Yeah, what I don't do is I don't get too much into anything, from the universities. I stay away from that. I'm using just the information that came from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, I do use, like I told you, I use some scientific research from like the eclipses and things like that, lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, and I use the Roman, the Greek dating. I use that, the Olympics, but I didn't use it for setting any of the benchmarks. Benchmarks are solely from the Bible. I won't use anything else because I have seen so like this 606 BC dating for the destruction of Solomon's temple, not even close. 410 BC is far better. And I went to a Jewish source, and I don't know the guy, but he did a great job. He is, I mean, just the way he formatted it was great. But he came, his dating of the destruction of the temple for like 400 BC or 420. It was 10 years off from what I'd come up with.
Wow.
So that's the reason I don't use it. Go ahead.
Is there a Jubilee structure in your dating, Jim?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Guys, I'm looking at it now. I can give you the current. I give you the biblical dating from Adam. It's a solid consecutive one after the other dating, and then it's current Jewish dating. I can give you that. The ages like the Bronze Age, Iron Age, that sort of thing. Then I give the BC dating and AD dating. It's all on there. Sabbaticals, I got the Jubilees, and they're all set in stone on there.
So let's start a fight and tell what you think the Jubilee time frame is.
That was my question. Are you a 49 year?
Oh, well, that too. 49 or 50, Jim.
49 or 50, Jim.
Real quick, I'll tell you what I believe.
Yeah.
The first year of a Jubilee cycle is also the 50th year of a Jubilee cycle, the previous Jubilee cycle.
Okay, so 49.
Okay, so you're a 49er.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Because you can't they don't coordinate. You can't coordinate the sabbaticals if you don't do it that way. They're off by the end of the first Jubilee, a cycle. They're off by a day or a year, and then by the second Jubilee cycle, they're off by 2 years.
Not being hostile, but where in Scripture does it say that the first year of the next cycle, the 50th year, the Jubilee year, is also the first year of the next cycle? That's where I'm stuck on. It does. The text never says that.
It doesn't say that, but there's mathematically you can't do it any other way, and it come out correctly.
I will say this: I think 49 divides into 6,000, 5,999 with an extra year on top of it, and 49, I believe, divides into 7,000. It doesn't divide into 6,000, by the way.
I can't tell you. I don't know about that.
Just this is my simple little second grade, third grade math mind working. I'm a 6 + 1 = 7. 120 multiplied by 50 equals 6,000. We got 1,000 years. So how many Jubilees do we have in the millennial reign? I mean, you have an odd number if it's 49. You get to 1960 and like, what are we going to do with these extra 40 years? That's my simplistic, not complicated approach to why I believe I fall on the 50 versus the 49.
I'll need to sit down with you and let me just show you the research. Because you can't talk about this stuff and not look at it.
Right.
And what I like about this timeline is it's all there in front of you. And it's on a Microsoft Excel document so that you can see that. A lot of the timelines that I see, they draw a line on a piece of paper and say, well, that's 2,300 and 300 days or whatever. And how do you know that? By looking at that with a document they use for the purpose of registry. You got it all on there. You can see it. And I'm telling you, I can show you prophecy after prophecy after prophecy that comes to the year, certainly to the year. And there's 3. Did you know that there are 3 prophecies in the Dead Sea Scrolls about Yeshua?
Well, in what books?
Well, they're not books; they're fragments.
Well, what fragments?
There are. One is the let's see Melchizedek scroll. Okay. That one is beautiful. that one is absolutely beautiful. It tells you so much information that it gives you so much information. You absolutely know that who they're talking about is Yeshua. And listen, it even says the name, and I'm going to butcher this, but blessed are the feet that on the mountains that announce Yeshua. It literally says, which is
salvation. Yeah,
salvation.
It
that
doesn't
announces
necessarily
salvation.
mean Jesus. I mean,
but that's
yeah.
his name. Now,
True.
and I agree with you. I agree with you.
There's a difference in spelling, though, just so you know that. So it's with a hey.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. But what I'm telling you,
we're gonna.
what I'm saying is this.
PhD's gonna come out on you, Jim. I'm just telling you. I'm forewarning you.
Let's do this. Let's set that aside for a second and just think about what that document says. It gives the Isaiah quoting that Yeshua did, and it gives all the information you need to know, and it tells you the year that the crucifixion took place, which, gentlemen, let me tell you, was in a Jubilee year.
It was. Okay.
So you believe the crucifixion year was a Jubilee as opposed to Luke 4 when he went into the synagogue and he pronounced the favorable year of the Lord, and then he closed the book and again, that's why I'm so wiggly, Jim. You may not have ever listened to us. I'm the most wiggly when it comes to prophecy. Now, I believe Yeshua is returning after 2 days or 2,000 years, but I don't know what year he specifically resurrected. There are some that have done the research and they'll say 30 AD or 28 AD or 32. I gave up. I couldn't prove it.
Well, let me tell you this, and it might make a little more sense to you. Maybe. Yeshua was supposed to be a lamb of the first year, right?
So that's a Michael Rood argument. 70 weeks?
No. It's got nothing to do with Michael Rood.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you that is an argument that people have made. There was only a 70-week ministry.
No. Let me stick with what I'm asking you. What was Yeshua supposed to be a lamb of the first year?
Well, he wasn't. He was a human and a God. He wasn't just a lamb. It was symbolic.
Was he the Lamb of God that was to be slain?
To take away the sins of the world, yes.
Okay. We're talking about the Passover lamb here. A lamb that was to be slain had to be of the first year. Here's the deal. And I absolutely believe that Yeshua was crucified in his 30th year of life, not 33rd year, 30th year, because he was supposed to come suddenly. And what day do you proclaim a Jubilee year on? What day of the week?
Yom Kippur.
Okay, now what day of the week?
Yom Kippurim.
Well, day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
See, you're going off the Qumran calendar, which starts with a Wednesday. So you tell us.
No, it doesn't start with a Wednesday.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, it starts with a Sunday. He every time they did a Day of Atonement, it was always on a Shabbat, always on Shabbat.
Where was Yeshua?
Wow, they wouldn't do that today.
But Yom Kippurim, again, and I've sworn to myself I'm not going to ever do calendar debates again. I've learned my lesson.
Oh, I'm just what I'm telling you is what's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. You take it or leave it. That's
let me ask you this about that though. Have you ever done any research as to when the year went from 360 to 365? Because my personal opinion is the individuals that recorded the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 2nd century, 1st century, they were trying their dead level best to take a perfect 360-day year, 12 months, 30 days, and trying to make sense of this and keep it on a schedule with a 365.25 year solar year. And I think they did the best they could, but it was God that threw the monkey wrench into the equation when he said, Hezekiah, your shadow is going to go backwards. And every ancient calendar that we know of, China, Sumeria, Africa, the Americas, every calendar went from 360 days to 365.25. And that's my biggest gripe with the Qumran calendar is it's not dealing with the initial calendar like we know that Moses had 30-day months. We know that 5 months, 150 days.
Do you know what the Qumran calendar says
about Moses? Or not
no,
Moses?
no,
No, my bad. No, my bad.
About the months. How many days are in a month? What does it say? What do they say? They were living there.
They add an extra day, like an intercalendary every 3 months. Isn't it 364-day year?
Show me where they do that.
No, they add a week.
No, they don't do anything.
They have to.
No, they don't have to.
They do 364, and then they add a week.
Yep. Hold on now.
Okay.
What day is said to be one long day? And how many days is that? Rosh Hashanah.
Okay.
One long day. So there's a 2-day day, 364-day calendar. I agree with you. But that day is 2 days long, which makes it 365 days.
Wait, how did we get the Rosh Hashanah as to 2 days?
Oh,
help me with the math here.
I was going to ask.
Maybe I'm not that smart. I'm trying to understand here.
Here's the calendar for Qumran. Guys, I'm not trying to talk you into this. I'm just telling you what they say, what they did.
Right. Yeah.
The calendars are 30, 30, 31. First quarter, 30, 30, 31, and repetitive. But the difference here is Rosh Hashanah is actually 2 days long. That's why they call it no man knows the day or the hour. That's why they refer to it as that, because it's a 2-day day.
You're saying Rosh Hashanah.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're saying Rosh Hashanah. You're talking about Yom Teruah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Yom Kippur. Okay.
No, Rosh Hashanah.
Okay. So yes, that is a 2-day.
Mm-hmm. So now you got 365 days.
What do you do with the 0.25?
Well,
I know you have to do something with it.
Yeah, you do. Let me explain something to you.
You got to do something with it.
Let me show you something. Whenever I was doing the research on this, I was plotting out the information about it, and there was a problem. And I was studying Joshua. You remember the story of Joshua? They were in a battle, and what happened? They were doing this battle, and Moses had to have his hands up, and if his hands came down, they'd lose the battle. Well, they needed more time to do that battle, right? And what happened?
Wait, are you talking about Moses or Joshua?
It's Joshua. I'm sorry,
Joshua. You're talking about the long day where the sun stood still.
Okay.
The sun stood still. You know what I think happened? This is me. I thought the only way that the sun's not going to stand still. It would have to be the earth. The earth, the rotation of the earth had to stop. How does that happen?
Here's
what I'm going to say. And I got to that, and I thought the only way that could happen, physically happen, is something had to impact the earth that would stop the rotational speed of the earth. The inner core probably could keep returning. However, I thought, but where does that come from? And then I go back to Joshua and I start reading, and it says the stones that came out of the sky killed more men than the army did. And I thought, oh my gosh, there was a meteor impact. Hold on, bud. There was a meteorite impact in that, and then I go to a impact record. It was at the same time there was a major impact. Guess where it was at? In the Middle East. And I thought, okay, because there's got to be a logical reason for all of this. The sun doesn't just stop. The earth doesn't just stop. God does everything by his laws and laws of physics. He does everything by his laws. My point is that if the rotational speed of the earth is affected, then it's going to affect time. And the only way that it might start back up and erase that 0.25 you're talking about is if there's another impact going the other direction. You see what I'm saying? Well, and I'm just talking.
No. And there's 3 events in which people believe time was altered. One would be the flood event, the event you just mentioned, in which the long day, And then the third event is shadows don't go backwards by natural means. They progress naturally. So that's the latest in the event. My argument, if I were like putting on a case, or we were not having a debate here, I would bring in the extra biblical evidence from all these calendars that say every freaking one of them, like Egypt just said, we've had a 360-day calendar forever. What are we going to do with these 5 days? We'll just stick them on there. Same thing with every China, every calendar didn't know what the heck to do. So my personal opinion is as our Qumran people in the first and second century were a Jewish sect that were really doing maybe their very dead level best to try to fit what Yah whacked out into a perfect system that used to be a 30-day month, 368-day year, perfect 360. We don't have a 360-degree circle out of happenstance. You know, there's a reason math was invented, and it was invented on this 360, not the 365.25 when we're doing these degrees. And the only other thing I would add, Jim, is my God, your God, our God, everybody's God. If he wants to, and this is more of a fluffer question, Doug loves flat Earth, by the way. He is a strong proponent. If God wants to stop, because even in a heliocentric model, everything is moving. The sun is moving. The galaxies are moving. Everything is moving. If God just wanted to go freeze frame and stop time, whether just by the rotation of the sun and the earth and the constellations and the planets and the stars, he could do it. I believe that's what he did. He just, whatever he decided to do, he just shut it down and said, Earth, you stop moving. Sun, you stop moving, and we'll kick it back into gear. He did it somehow. We don't know how he did it.
Okay.
I mean, I just think if he wants to freeze frame time in his creation, that's like easy stuff. Stop.
Okay. Wow. Pretty simple.
Easy.
Jim, thank you for coming and sharing with us about the Copper Scroll. I'm very excited to get updates as to when you're finally able to go and to locate these things on behalf of the Israeli government, et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty amazing. I mean, wow. That's pretty cool.
There's a lot of people that are interested.
Oh,
I mean, I've been doing interviews all week, and I've got this one tonight, and I've got to go back to Kansas. There's a bigger TV audience that wants to do another interview with me. They're calling me back to go.
Yeah.
And then there's another audience. It's a major network here in the United States that is going to do another. I've done several History Channel, and it's all about the Copper Scroll. So yeah, there's a lot. Point being, there's a lot of people that are wanting me to come and talk to them about this now.
That's very cool.
Is there any projection as far as from Israel and the authorities as to when y'all might be able to ever go verify your research?
Well, you missed my statement early on.
The first part, yeah.
Yeah, and what my point is, what I told everybody was, guys, if they told me today, I'm not telling anybody. My wife will find out, and a couple of guys that are on my team, but other than that, nobody's going to find out because it's too dangerous. It is. It's like the red heifers. They have to keep them hidden and secret because it's too dangerous. And I don't mean necessarily physically, but there's too many people that don't want these things to happen.
I was in Israel when the war broke out, and I was actually in Shiloh a few days before that. I'm like, there's no way they got all these red heifers in the same place where any Muslim terrorist could just come in and wipe them out or do a drone attack. I said, some of these heifers that we're looking at are fake. They had to be. Because there was like 3 or 4 of them in a pen at Shiloh. And I was going, yeah, there's 2 or 3 decoys in there. Now, there might be 1 in there. But I just couldn't see how the Temple Institute or Israel would be stupid enough to put all 4 heifers in a little pen.
You wouldn't put them in Shiloh, not a safe area.
They were in Shiloh in a pen. Wow. We had to pay $10 extra when we did the tour to see to go see the red heifers.
I've talked to Scott Stripling before, and it's dangerous up there in that area in Shiloh. So
yeah. Well, awesome. Again, Jim, thank you so much for joining us. It was really very interesting, and thank you. And of course, there's always lots of rabbit trails that we got to go on with calendar questions and so much more. So, but fantastic. Everyone, thank you. We're glad that you joined us for another episode of Prophecy Roundtable. We don't have all the answers, but we, have a great conversation about things related to the end times. If you have topics that you want us to talk about, or if there's a guest that you want us to try to get on, write to us. That'd be awesome. You can write to me at doughamp@gmail.com. Don't spam me, but you can write to me there and just, say what's on your mind, as long as it's nice, and we'll see what we can do. So thank you again, and we will talk to you